Joshua 12, the list of defeated kings. Every victory tells a story. After years of battles, after countless miles walked, after victories that only God could accomplish, Joshua chapter 12 invites us to stop, to remember, to reflect. At first glance, the chapter may appear to be nothing more than a list of names. But look closer, every king represents a battle God won. Every defeated ruler is a reminder that God's promises never fail. This chapter isn't simply history, it is a testimony. It teaches us the importance of remembering God's faithfulness before moving forward into new blessings. Welcome to Joshua chapter 12. Joshua chapter 12 serves as a bridge between conquest and inheritance. The chapter first recalls the victories won east of the Jordan under Moses, including the defeat of King Sihon and King Og. It then lists the 31 kings defeated by Joshua in the Promised Land. Each name represents a fulfilled promise. Each victory demonstrates God's faithfulness. Before Israel receives its inheritance, God invites them to remember how He has brought them this far. The chapter reminds us that gratitude grows stronger when we intentionally remember God's work. Let's walk through the chapter and refresh our minds. List of defeated kings. These are the kings of the land whom the Israelites had defeated and whose territory they took over east of the Jordan, from the Arnon Gorge to Mount Hermon, including all the eastern side of the Arabah. Sihon, king of the Amorites, who reigned in Heshbon. He ruled from Aroer on the rim of the Arnon Gorge, from the middle of the gorge to the Jabbok River, which is the border of the Ammonites. This included half of Gilead. He also ruled over the eastern Arabah from the Sea of Galilee to the Sea of the Arabah, that is, the Dead Sea to Beth Jeshimoth, and then southward below the slopes of Pisgah, and the territory of Og, king of Bashan, of the last of the Rephates, who reigned in Ashtaroth and Edrei. He ruled over Mount Hermon, Salakah, all of Bashan to the border of the people of Gesher and Makkah, and half of Gilead to the border of Sihon king of Heshbon. Moses, the servant of the Lord, and the Israelites conquered them. And Moses the servant of the Lord gave their land to the Reubenites, the Gadites and the half-tribe of Manasseh, to be their possession. Here is a list of the kings of the land that Joshua and the Israelites conquered on the west side of the Jordan, from Baal-Gad in the valley of Lebanon to Mount Halak, which rises toward Seir. Joshua gave their lands as an inheritance to the tribes of Israel according to their tribal divisions. The lands included the hill country, the western foothills, the Arabah, the mountain slopes, the wilderness, and the Negev. These were the lands of the Hittites, Amorites, Canaanites, Perizzites, Hivites, and Jebusites. These were the kings: the king of Jericho, the king of Ai near Bethel, the king of Jerusalem, the king of Hebron, the king of Jarmuth, the king of Lachish, the king of Eglon, the king of Gezer, the king of Debir, the king of Geder, the king of Hormah, the king of Arad, the king of Libnah, the king of Adullam, the king of Makkedah, the king of Bethel, the king of Tappuah, the king of Hepher, the king of Aphek, the king of Lasharon, the king of Madon, the king of Hazor, the king of Shimron-Meron, the king of Akshaph, the king of Tanakh, the king of Megiddo, the king of Kadesh, the king of Jokneam in Carmel, the king of Dor, in Naphath Dor, the king of Goyim in Gilgal, the king of Tirzah, 30 kings in all. Lessons and teachings. 1. God keeps His promises. All 31 kings were defeated. God promised the land, He delivered it. For us, trust God's promises. He is faithful. 2. The conquest is complete. Joshua defeated all the kings. The victory was complete. For us, God's work in your life will be complete. 3. Remember what God has done. The list of defeated kings is recorded. Remembering God's victories is important. For us, keep a record of God's faithfulness. Remembering God's faithfulness strengthens our confidence for tomorrow. A grateful heart is a courageous heart. 4. Every enemy must be defeated one by one. The kings fell. The conquest was methodical. For us, deal with sin one step at a time. 5. God is the author of victory. The Lord gave them the land. Victory comes from God. For us, give God the glory for every victory. We often focus on the next challenge. God sometimes invites us to pause. Remember, reflect, celebrate. 6. The promised land is a gift. Moses and Joshua were instruments. The land was a gift from God. For us, our inheritance in Christ is a gift. 7. Remembrance strengthens faith. Sometimes we become so focused on the next challenge that we forget the victories God has already given us. When we remember what God has done yesterday, we gain confidence for tomorrow. Perhaps you too can make your own list, not of defeated kings, but of answered prayers, moments of provision, doors God opened, times He carried you through sorrow, victories you could never have achieved alone. Every one of them is a testimony of his faithfulness. The God who fulfilled every promise to Israel is still faithful today, and he will continue to be faithful tomorrow. 8. Joshua recorded the names of defeated earthly kings. Jesus has defeated our greatest enemies, sin, death, and the power of evil. Because of Christ's victory, believers have an eternal inheritance that cannot be taken away. Just as Joshua's list proclaimed God's faithfulness, the cross proclaims God's love and victory forever. Points to take home. 131 Kings. Joshua chapter 12 records 31 defeated kings west of the Jordan, along with the victories over Sihon and Og east of the Jordan. Under Moses, together they form a remarkable testimony to God's fulfilled promises too, a chapter of remembrance. Ancient Israel often preserved lists and memorials so future generations would remember what God had done. This chapter serves as a spiritual monument as much as a historical record. 3. A turning point. Joshua 12 marks the end of the major conquest narratives and prepares readers for the division of the promised land in the following chapters. 4. Gratitude before inheritance. Before God distributes the land, he first reminds Israel of his faithfulness. Remembering his work prepares his people to receive his blessings with humility. Tomorrow, the story enters a new season. The great battles are behind Israel. Now comes the inheritance. God speaks to Joshua about the land that still remains and begins distributing the promised land among his people. Join us for Joshua chapter 13, where we discover that God's promises are not only won, they are received, stewarded, and lived out. Thank you for journeying through God's Word with us. If this message encouraged you, don't forget to like, subscribe, and share it with someone who needs hope today. Until next time, may God's Word be the lamp to your feet and the light to your path. This is Whispers of the Word, where every chapter whispers the heart of God. God bless you.